News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. The countdown is on for the launch of the Artemis II mission. It's scheduled for 6:24. That's less than half an hour from now. Now, this is a live shot of the rocket on its firing range. On board in the Orion capsule is Canadian Jeremy Hansen and 3 other astronauts. They're leaving Earth for a 10-day mission around the moon and back. It is the first crewed lunar mission since Apollo 17 in 1972. Heather Wright is in Cape Canaveral, Florida, with more.
Well, the crew is now inside the Orion capsule. They are doing their final checks as this mission gets closer to the launch window. There have been a lot of questions about whether this mission would get the go-ahead. It had been delayed a number of times before because of issues with the fueling. And so when they got past that first hurdle this morning, as they began to tank this spacecraft, we began to hear good signs from NASA officials. There was a positive fueling. Then there was a good weather report. And as all of this was happening, these 4 crew members were getting ready to go to the moon. Their day began waking up just after 9 o'clock, having breakfast, and then going through a number of checks, medical checks, making sure they had been sleeping properly, getting into their spacesuits, and then finally getting into the Astrovan to take them to the launch pad. The excitement down here is something you can really feel everywhere you go. Speaking with members of NASA, speaking with people involved with the Canadian Space Agency, this is a very big moment for space exploration. And what we've been hearing over and over again, that this is really step 1, getting a crewed mission to the moon for the first time since 1972. But the goal is not just to go to the moon, it's to go beyond the moon. I had the opportunity to speak with the NASA administrator yesterday, who said that they have big ambitions for where they want to go. Mars, other planets, exploring asteroids that come close and near Earth. And so this is step 1. It is incredible that a Canadian is part of this mission. We heard from Jeremy Hansen earlier today saying just how proud he is to be Canadian. And really, there are big hopes for the Canadian space program, hopes to send more astronauts to the moon and perhaps beyond. Jeremy has said many times that he does not want to be the last. That's more important than being the first, is not being the last. So he really is laying that groundwork for perhaps more Canadians to follow in his footsteps. But step 1 is the launch of the Artemis II, and we are getting ever closer to that launch window. Back to you.
And Geneviève Beauchemin is at the Canadian Space Agency in Saint-Hubert. Jen, it's not long now.
There's a picture of the rocket. You've seen a lot this evening. I'm not going to go into any detail.
It's not long now, as we get closer to that launch window, people here are growing in anticipation. There is a lot of nervous energy in the air. You can tell that behind me there is a presentation. Gathered here are all the members, colleagues of Jeremy Hansen, who are here to watch. They're experts, so they know exactly what's about to unfold here. They're anticipating those moments. As I say, it's nervous energy. There's a lot on the line here. There's a lot of things that are about to go right, and they are hoping that things just proceed as they're supposed to go. But as I say, they're, watching this presentation and hoping to see that everything go right and goes on time. Here's what astronaut David Saint-Jacques had to say about the fact that, this is a really special moment for Canada. This is a very special moment as well for someone he knows very well, and that is Jeremy Hansen. Here's what he had to say.
Big picture, they'll launch. The crew will spend almost 2 days.
My thoughts are with Jeremy and his family. This is part of history, and it's really a privilege and a sacrifice and a great commitment to something bigger than all of us. That's what I really like to think, especially in these troubled days. A lot of people are worried about status of the geopolitics. I think this is a moment where all Earthlings can look in the same direction as we do the impossible together.
And David Saint-Jacques was also talking about the fact that it is about 1,000 people's jobs right now to make sure to find out if there's any problem at all, to look for problems. And so certainly they will be trained on that, and people here are going to be trained. Their eyes on the screen that is behind me right now. They're hearing a little bit more about the details, to hearing a little bit more from the presentation now about how things will unfold over the next few minutes, and to see whether or not indeed the launch will go ahead as planned at exactly the right time in that window that That opens over the next few hours. Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Jen. And that's Geneviève Beauchemin at the Canadian Space Agency. Julie Payette joins us now from Cape Canaveral in Florida. Julie, this is an exciting day. I mean, this is the kind of day that all the astronauts dream about, right?
It is an exciting day because we're launching a rocket to the moon. First time in more than 50 years.
The astronauts
and we have a Canadian on board.
Yes, we do. The astronauts, okay, so now they're all in the Orion space capsule. What are they doing now? What are they thinking about?
You know, for having been in a space shuttle twice on my back waiting for the launch countdown to go to zero, what happens now is that they're on their backs. They have been there. They've trained so long and so many months and years for this. They're actually quite calm. They're listening on the radio for the launch control team to make sure the vehicle is all good and geared up to go. And they're going to just like be ready for T equals 0 when we lit the candle.
And what will that feel like when you say when they light that candle? What is that going to feel like for them?
This is one of the largest, biggest rockets we've ever had people ride on, except for the Saturn V for the Apollo mission. So it is massively huge. It will be coming out slowly from the pad, but then it will accelerate. It's a massive, massive, gigantic rocket. I don't know if you see it behind. And they will feel the rumble for the first few minutes when they're still attached to the solid rocket booster, and then the thing's going to get a lot smoother. But they will be pushed in their seat. But they've rehearsed that again in simulators many times, so they're prepared for anything.
And, you know, you say that they've been preparing for this day for years, but what if their last few days have been like?
Quite calm. Actually, usually once you get to the Cape Canaveral Kennedy Space Center in quarantine, you get to see your family, you get to do the final preparation, you see the flight ducks. It's actually a lot more quiet than it usually is. And it's time to just like take time to really focus, arrange a few more things, review a few more things, and then you're ready to go by then.
Do you have time, though, to think about the significance of what it is that you're doing? Or are you too busy at this point to really think about that kind of thing?
Totally, yeah.
You know, I can't speak for all my colleagues, but most astronauts, we're so focused all the way to lunchtime, all the way to mission time, and once we get to space, same thing. Usually it's within a few days within the mission, when some of the objectives are behind us that we've accomplished, that we start realizing the incredible privilege of flying in space. And in the case of the Artemis crew, going to the moon, there we'll bring back photos of our satellite we haven't seen it in a long, long time. We're so excited.
Okay, thank you so much for taking time to do this, Julie. I know how busy you are, so thank you.
Godspeed. Godspeed, Artemis. Thank you.
And how exciting it is. So the launch is at 6:24, and we are going to try to bring that to you live as the Artemis mission takes off from Cape Canaveral, Florida. A 20-year-old man was charged with second-degree murder today in the death of his 18-year-old partner. It is the 8th suspected case of femicide in Quebec since the start of this year. Here's Denise Roberts.
2 single white roses and a candle have been laid at the home where an 18-year-old woman was allegedly strangled by her partner. Véronique Bouvard lives in the neighborhood and said she felt compelled to come here and pay her respects.
Je connaissais pas cette femme, mais
I didn't know this woman, she says, but she represents women in general, and it's sad to see what happened to her. Police were called to this apartment on Everett Street Tuesday afternoon, where they found an unconscious woman who was pronounced dead at the scene. She has been identified as 18-year-old Caterina Alejandra Mejia Salinas. Her partner, 20-year-old Herbert Gudiel Martinez Ramirez, appeared via video conference in court where he was charged with second-degree murder.
This case now marks the 8th suspected femicide in Quebec since the start of this year.
Those who live in this neighborhood say it was a shock to find out what happened. It makes no sense, says Steve Ramsey. Violence has become so rampant. There's so much of it. Others question how to stop these tragedies from happening. We have to stop it before it happens, says Giselle Baudouin, because once it happens, it's too late.
We always wonder what more could have been done in the situation. We always wonder if the person realized that they were in a situation of intimate partner violence prior to this happening. We always wonder whether this person knew how to get help.
SOS Violence Conjugale coordinator Claudine Thibodeau says they have online tools to help victims identify dangerous behaviors. She says no matter the age of the victim, one death is too many.
It's a young woman who had her whole life ahead, and this was snuffed by someone because they decided to take power over them, the ultimate power.
Martinez Ramirez is scheduled to return to court on May 6th. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
There is a call for Quebec to ban the sale of energy drinks to minors. The call comes from the parents of a teenager who died after he drank one. Olivia O'Malley reports.
Zachary Miron was a picture of health. The 15-year-old enjoyed fishing and snowboarding with family and friends. He died in 2024 after drinking one can of the energy drink, Red Bull.
What we're living right now, nobody has to go through that.
The teenager was with his class at Morin Heights Ski Hill, north of Montreal. A combination of his ADHD medication and the energy drink caused an arrhythmia, leading to his sudden death.
He decided to, with a friend, like, oh, let's buy a Red Bull. So they bought a Red Bull from the vending machine in the cafeteria. So he drank the Red Bull, and it was in the chairlift, and his heart stopped. And that was the end.
Since then, his parents, Veronica Martinez and David Miron, have been campaigning to ban the sale of energy drinks to minors. Almost 15,000 people have signed their petition on the National Assembly website.
They said it's not meant for kids, but all the marketing, the branding is specifically for them.
Today, the parents met with the health minister. After the meeting, Sonia Bélanger said the government is seriously considering a ban on energy drinks for people under 16 or even 18.
On va examiner vraiment.
She said she will continue to work on this with Quebec Solidaire's health spokesperson Guillaume Clich-Rivard. He filed a request for the Health and Social Services Commission to study the issue ahead of the end of session in June.
I'm really hopeful. Truly, I really felt she was moved and touched by the testimony, and I felt like she came with options in her hand.
We're feeling hopeful that something good will happen, and that they might put something in place real quick.
Because she says if it happened to her son, it can happen to any child. Olivia O'Malley, CTV News, Quebec City.
There's more money from Ottawa to help fight homelessness. The federal housing minister was at Montreal City Hall today. It was just last week that Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada made an emotional plea for help. And Matt, the mayor, says the money is welcome.
Yes, Mitsumi, the mayor told reporters this afternoon that it, in fact, was excellent news. Now, a little earlier in the afternoon, Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada was hosting a roundtable discussion sitting side by side with Federal Housing Minister Gregor Robertson. They were meeting with a number of different groups, including those who focus on housing and who help the homeless. The announcement, Ottawa will invest $125 million into what's called the Unsheltered Homelessness and Encampments Initiative. That money is allocated across the country, so within that amount, $13 million will go to Montreal. The mayor says this program was supposed to be a 2-year initiative and had come to an end just yesterday, but the city has been working for the past month to get this initiative renewed.
The community organizations have been flagging that the commitment of the federal government was a short-term commitment of 2 years, and what we showed the federal government is that 2 years were not enough. So we had to put new money into the program.
Now, the mayor was asked about Quebec's coroner's inquiry into the deaths of homeless people.
Yes, so the coroner will examine 5 recent deaths. They have all happened within the last year. And essentially the inquiry will look into the causes of those deaths and to understand perhaps what may have contributed to them. And the mayor welcomes this public inquiry.
We need to get to the bottom of, people need to understand why we're losing people in the streets. And the public inquiry will give us that. Not only for us and the community organization, they know why. Now, public opinion and all that, everybody should have a better understanding why we're losing people in the streets.
Now, the coroner will also issue recommendations to help protect homeless people and to try to prevent future deaths. Mitsumi?
Thanks very much, Matt. And that's Matt Grillo at Montreal City Hall. A woman in Saint Laurent says she was robbed of her jewelry during one of her daily walks. She says she was terrified, she was shocked. Thieves approached her and robbed her in broad daylight. Angela McKenzie reports.
Still in shock, Santosh Sharma describes how a simple walk to get some fresh air turned harrowing last Friday morning. A car stopped while she was walking on Côte Vertu Boulevard. She says the couple in the car was white. They tried to call her over, but she couldn't understand them. Then someone else came from behind and pushed her to the car.
Being old and not physically that strong, though, they were able to hold her well. So she was not able to free herself, and she lost 4 bangles from both of her hands.
Her son Vishnal Sharma says the thieves, including at least one woman, forcibly removed these 4 gold bangles from her wrists before taking off. It all happened in the span of a few minutes. Police responded quickly, but Vishnal says they were told the jewelry was unlikely to be recovered. Santosh says she feels the thieves were trying to distract her, waving and saying "Mamma Mia" repeatedly. They also stuffed fake jewelry into her pockets. CTV News recently reported distraction thefts are on the rise in Canada. This past fall, Laval police warned of thieves targeting seniors for their jewelry. Vishnal says today the bangles would cost around $15,000 to replace, a gift he gave to his mother on his wedding day.
Like, it's for us, it's very tough to purchase something like that. So it's not an easy thing.
Santosh is from India and only arrived in Canada 3 years ago. She says she's never been the victim of a crime before and thought Montreal was a safe city. Now she says she's too afraid to go outside.
I just want to tell everybody that be vigilant and stay away from all these people and never wear jewelry on the roads.
And they hope sharing this story will help keep others safe. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
Tenants and community groups are denouncing what they call abusive rent hikes. They held a protest in Park Extension last night outside an apartment complex on Danvers Avenue. They say there are rent increases. They're up to 20%, even when there are no renovations to justify them.
The rent increase, everything increase, grocery increase, but salary not increase. How can I survive?
It's a high time. Government should take some action. They are not providing social housing. At least they can put us, like a rent control.
The new owners of the buildings say they are trying to improve the buildings and to ensure adequate living conditions. The spring no parking signs are back in effect in Montreal. The parking bans begin April 1st and they're in effect until December. In some areas, they're in effect from March 15th to November 15th. It's to allow for street cleaning. Cars in violation will be fined $100. Last year, the city handed out more than 360,000 tickets. And there are changes coming to the REM schedule next week. The reduced hours that were imposed several months ago will be lifted. As of Monday, the last train from de Montagne will leave just before 12:30 a.m. on weekdays and just before 1 a.m. on weekends. And coming up, Donald Trump says Iran wants a ceasefire.
I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard.
Iran, though, is telling a different story. And what happens when things go wrong with those self-driving taxis? Donald Trump will address America tonight. In the meantime, Trump is claiming Iran is asking for a ceasefire. Iran denies it. And again, Trump is threatening to withdraw the U.S. from NATO. Here's Joy Malvin.
President Donald Trump says he intends to declare mission accomplished in Iran soon.
I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard.
They are. The Pentagon says it's hit more than 11,000 targets, blasting Iranian vessels, damaging Iran's ballistic missiles, and decapitating much of Iran's senior leadership. Trump posted this morning, Iran's new regime president, much less radicalized, has just asked the U.S. for a ceasefire. We will consider when Hormuz Strait is open, free, and clear. But Iran's president was already president before the war. Tehran flatly rejects Trump's ceasefire claim, and Trump said it didn't matter if the strait was open or not. That critical waterway for global oil and shipping blocked by Tehran has sent oil and gas prices spiraling.
If France or some other country wants to get oil or gas, they'll go up through the strait and the Hormuz Strait. They'll go right up there and they'll be able to fend for themselves. We have nothing to do with that.
It's no secret Trump is upset with America's allies. France, Spain, and Italy, even the UK, initially denied airspace and military support to Trump.
This is not our war. We will not be drawn into the conflict.
Lashing out in a British newspaper, Trump said, I'm strongly considering pulling out of NATO, calling the alliance a paper tiger, stating it's beyond reconsideration.
We are going to have to re-examine whether or not this alliance that has served this country well for a while is still serving that purpose, or has it now become a one-way street?
If Trump tried to pull out of NATO, he'd trigger a congressional and likely constitutional battle. The president telling Reuters he plans to criticize NATO tonight in his speech to the nation. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
The CAQ government says it will remove some of the more controversial elements from its draft constitution for Quebec. For example, the Justice Minister says the Constitution will recognize Anglophones and their rights. Simon-Jolene Barrette says he will also remove the provision that would forbid organizations from using public funds to finance legal challenges. He says he's making the changes in response to the criticism.
I'm willing to hear the proposition of the different party, but right now I make I make a step to the English community, speaking community, to be sure that their rights are recognized.
Jolene Barrette had been critical of the English Montreal School Board for using public funds to challenge laws that pertain to language, religion, and school boards. Former Social Services Minister Lionel Carman has returned to the CAQ.
Notre aventure à la CAQ se termine comme elle a commencé, ensemble.
He left the party in January saying he could not support the government's bill on doctors' pay. But now Carman says he will stand by his friend François Legault in his final days as Premier. Legault will be replaced by a new leader April the 12th. The Welcome Hall mission is expanding its food operations with a new centralized kitchen. The mission says it can produce up to 10,000 meals a day. The facility also includes a training program to help people find jobs. The announcement comes as more people struggle with rising food costs.
Far too many people are hungry in Montreal, and we know that far too many children are also hungry. The latest estimates that we've seen are around 35% of Montreal's children go to bed hungry on any given night.
Coming up, the people of Alberta are talking independence.
I'm very proud of my people, and that worked so hard in the dead of a cold winter to collect this many signatures.
And they're also working to get themselves a referendum. And all those cold remedies in our medicine cabinets, do they really do anything?
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
Over-the-counter cold medications is a multi-billion-dollar business. It is the first thing we turn to when we get a cold, but do they work? And what exactly is a cold anyway? Dr. Christopher Labos joins us. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Mitz.
So, Chris, I just want to warn you, we're still waiting for the Artemis to launch. And if that should happen, I'm going to cut you off because we're going to go live to them. But nothing personal, okay?
It happens.
Okay, it happens. Okay, so let's get started. So what exactly is a common cold anyway?
So the common cold is just a word that we say. It has no medical meaning. We usually use it to describe all the circulating viruses that are out there that make us sick. So these could be coronaviruses. They could be any number of viruses that are out there. We often don't test for them because there's no need to. Usually the symptoms go away on their own. But if you've ever gotten sick, it's usually viral, not bacterial. And because antibiotics wouldn't help, we usually just tell you ride it out at home and just, take whatever over-the-counter stuff you might have in your pharmacy. So that's what a common cold is. It's basically whatever's making you sick at this given moment.
Now, from what I understand, though, these over-the-counter cold medications, they're meant to ease our symptoms, right? Not to cure the colds.
No, because they don't have any antiviral properties. There are specific antivirals that we have for things like influenza and that we have for COVID. We tend not to use them all that much because they don't have a great effectiveness and they are sort of limited in when they work and who they would work. So because they are not applicable for the vast majority of people who get sick, you don't really see them. And so most of what we're doing out there is symptomatic relief, making you feel better without actually treating the infection, which tends to run its course on its own.
The most common cold medications, I guess, that we know of, Chris, Tylenol, Advil, Aleve, each one of them has a different active ingredient.
Yeah, so Tylenol is sort of in a category by its own. That's acetaminophen, so that's an antipyretic. So it will treat a fever, it will help with pain. The other ones, Advil and ibuprofen, are part of a family called NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and those are anti-inflammatories. They also treat a fever, they also help with pain, but they also suppress inflammation. So they do slightly different things, but because most people are taking them for the basic thing of treating a fever, we tend to think of them as being part of the same family, but they are really not. The anti-inflammatories can actually increase your blood pressure, cause stomach ulcers, and they are generally not recommended, which is why we tend to tell people take Tylenol as a first line, especially if you have pre-existing heart disease or high blood pressure or other medical issues.
Okay, so what about decongestants then? Do they work? What about nasal sprays? There's regular nasal spray, there's water nasal sprays.
So do they work? Not really all that well. And in fact, very recently, there was a decision by the FDA in the US to take phenylephrine, one of the decongestants, off of the market because the studies have not shown that it does anything. With some of the other decongestants like pseudoephedrine, maybe they do a little bit. But these are sort of the oral decongestants, right? The ones that are sort of packaged in tablets. And when you go and buy cold and flu medication at the pharmacy, what you're usually getting is a combo pill of Tylenol, a decongestant, maybe a cough medication sort of packaged into one pill. So in their oral form, they tend not to do all that much. They are more effective when you take them as a nasal spray. It's just that we don't recommend that people take them as a nasal spray because once you take them for more than 2 or 3 days, your body habituates to their use. And when you stop it, the symptoms get worse. So people say that these things are addictive. They're not strictly speaking addictive, but if you use them for more than 2 and 3 days, you're going to feel worse once you try to stop them. And then people just keep using them forever and ever and ever, and then they become a real problem.
And what about the post-cold cough? A lot of people get that. They can last a while. Is there anything that can be done about that?
No. Unfortunately, okay. No. And I know because I tend to get that. No, there really is nothing. I mean, all of the cough syrups out there don't really do all that much. All the stuff that they put in cold and flu medication don't really do that much. Dextromethorphan, which is the usual active ingredient in most cough medications, very, very minimal effects given the cost and the side effects. Back in the day, we used to have codeine cough syrups. You don't see it that much anymore, but that too, very, very minimal sort of effectiveness, which is why it's largely not being used. Unfortunately, there's not that much that you can do for a cough after you get sick, which is why there's actually specific practice guidelines here in Canada to say don't do anything, because we used to try all kinds of stuff. We used to give people puffers. We used to give people any number of medications. They don't really work, and you kind of just have to wait for it to go away on its own, which is terrible, but them's the lumps.
Okay, so then at the end of the day, Chris, is there any point in using any of these drugs?
Given the cost associated, it's very dubious. We spent about $2.9 billion on over-the-counter cold and flu medications in any given year. That's a lot of money that we could probably be put to better use. Certainly, if you're very symptomatic and you have a high fever and you don't feel well and you want to take Tylenol or some other pain or anti-fever medication, there's a rationale for that because you will feel better. But a lot of the other ones, the cough medications, the decongestants, it's really unclear that they're doing anything. So, it's your money. People can do what you want, but the reality is very little bang for your buck in this entire class of pharmaceuticals.
Okay, so Chris, NASA was good enough to hold off on the launch so that you could finish your interview. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you to NASA.
But the launch is set to go. The Artemis II mission is set to launch very soon. So we're going to go now live to Cape Canaveral in Florida for the countdown.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of Integrity on the Artemis II mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high.
On time, passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate MECO. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston saying good performance on the 4 main engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour. Mission elapsed time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
On, Ponce de Leon.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce de Leon.
Have you the same?
Communication signal transfer confirmed as Integrity and its crew go supersonic. Approaching 90 seconds into the Artemis II mission. Integrity is 14 miles in altitude, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600 miles per hour. Minute 50 seconds of mission elapsed time, standing by for main engine throttle down to 85%, ahead of solid rocket booster separation, expected at the 2-minute 9-second mark. We see throttle down. Confirmed separation. Main engine's throttling up, guidance converged.
Integrity, guidance converged, performance nominal, upper stage RCS ready.
Copy all, Stan.
Integrity, SM priming complete.
SM priming complete.
2 minutes 45 seconds of mission elapsed time into the Artemis II mission. Thrusters on Integrity and upper stage confirmed in a ready state, ahead of service module fairing separation. 3 minutes into the flight. Integrity, 49 miles in altitude, 78 miles downrange, now passing 5,000 miles per hour.
Wow. Was that amazing or what? I think I stopped breathing for a while there. We're just watching the launch of the Artemis II mission. It is carrying Canadian Jeremy Hansen, 3 other astronauts. They're off for a 10-day mission around the moon and back, the first crewed lunar mission since 1972. Amazing.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for limited time.
Watching that launch was truly amazing, and there's more than one reason to keep your eyes to the skies tonight. We are actually dealing with a full moon. It's going to be visible as of 10:12 p.m. and it's known as the paschal or pink full moon, and it usually happens just before Easter, so perfect timing. And certainly we will have conditions that could make for some good viewing, depending on where you are. Partly cloudy skies. Let's put our futurecast into motion now and see what else we're dealing with over the next 24 hours. So we'll begin to see some clouds increase in the next few hours. Around midnight, still holding on to partly cloudy skies, but as we head into the early morning hours, we start our Thursday off with mostly cloudy skies and increasing cloud coverage into the afternoon. And that is ahead of this system that is going to be bringing us some rain as early as 6 or 7 o'clock, dealing with it pretty much into the early morning hours, because once again, we start our Friday with some showers. So tonight it will be some nice conditions for viewing that full moon. -2, feeling like -10. Typically we'd be around -6, so that's a win for us. A few clouds, but tomorrow morning we see increasing clouds and we'll deal with a daytime high of 7 degrees. Nice conditions there. And we will be dealing with cloudy skies once again into the afternoon. So the key word here is clouds, obviously. But once again, we will also see some showers around 12 millimeters starting around 7 o'clock tomorrow. And that's not all. On Friday, we could see an additional 6 millimeters of rain. And we will be seeing nice temperatures there, though, 15 degrees. And usually this time of year, a high would be around 7, so that is a win. Saturday, well, mostly cloudy skies there, high of 6 degrees. Now into the afternoon, we could start to see around 22 millimeters of rain, so don't get rid of your umbrella, because once again, on Sunday, an additional 5 millimeters of rain and a high of 9 there. Monday through Wednesday, though, our temperatures seem pretty comfortable, and we will see some sunshine this time next week, a high of 6 degrees.
A citizen-led push for Alberta independence says it's reached the signatures needed to trigger a referendum. Here's Kathy Lee.
For months, Albertans have been lining up to sign a citizen-led petition in support of the province leaving Canada. Now, the lead organizer says the required threshold of just under 178,000 signatures has been reached a month before deadline.
I'm very proud of my people, and that worked so hard in the dead of a cold winter to collect this many signatures.
Elections Alberta still needs to verify each signature. If the count holds, the question of Alberta becoming an independent country could go to a referendum in October.
If they get the requisite number of signatures verified, it'll be on the ballot. I'm watching with great interest. There's 2 citizens initiatives that are happening right now.
The other initiative is Forever Canadian, led by former Deputy Premier Thomas Lukaszuk. He says volunteers collected just under 500,000 signatures last year in support of staying in Canada, but does not want the issue decided by a referendum.
Let's resolve the issue of separatism on the floor of the legislature. That's what the legislature is for.
Several polls show about a third of Albertans support separation, the issue continuing to divide the province. A political scientist says the uncertainty could also hurt investment.
It's going to chase away investment, and it's going to damage the economic stability of the province.
But supporters of separation argue Alberta is already at a disadvantage.
Albertans have been trying to get a better deal with Ottawa for 100 years.
The petition remains open until May 2nd. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
There were some problems with the robo-taxis in the Chinese city of Wuhan. A system failure brought all the autonomous vehicles to a screeching halt. Video filmed from a passing car shows vehicles trying to get around the stranded rowboat taxis. Passengers were able to get out. There were no injuries. The cause of the outage is under investigation. And coming up, the zen of spring cleaning.
Instead of labeling cleaning as a chore, reframe it as an act of self-care.
Some say cleaning house is good for the body and the soul.
Menswear provided by Ernest. Elevate your style with Ernest. Your Health, brought to you by Gratian Scaff. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for limited time.
Spring cleaning is a way to refresh our homes and get things organized. Experts say it can also be a boost for mental health. Here's Mandy Gator.
So long, winter. Spring has sprung. But if breaking out the vacuum for a new season refresh doesn't sound tempting, there's another reason to do it. It's good for your brain.
Instead of labeling cleaning as a chore, reframe it as an act of self-care.
Clinical psychologist Susan Alberts with Cleveland Clinic says having a tidy space can actually boost a person's mood. She says it's been shown to improve sleep, concentration, and energy levels while decreasing stress and anxiety.
Cleaning provides immediate, visible, and tangible results, which our brain loves. It likes to see evidence of success. This in turn releases dopamine into the body, the pleasure neurotransmitter.
But if your motivation is lacking, Albert says to start small. Try tidying your desk, which could also include digital decluttering, closing out emails, cleaning off your computer's home screen, and avoiding distractions by muting alerts until you're done. If you feel your cleaning momentum begin to shift, Albert says to move on to your bedroom.
Just cleaning your bedroom and making your bed has been shown in studies to improve your sleep by 19%.
Then she says to focus on high traffic areas, the most used spaces in your home.
This is going to help to reduce the stress and conflict in the family. When these high traffic areas are filled with clutter, they create stress for everyone.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Apple is marking a major milestone today. The company is celebrating its 50th anniversary. It was founded on this date in 1976 by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. They signed a 2-page partnership to create the Apple Computer Company. Well, half a century later, this business is worth nearly $4 trillion.
Business News brought to you by Au Vieux de Louvre, where memories and meals come together.
There are reports that Elon Musk's SpaceX will go public in a few months. Mirella Fernandez has more on that.
Several media outlets say the largest stock market debut ever could happen in June. The draft registration could see SpaceX valued at $1.75 trillion. It would be the biggest ever listing. The last IPO that came close was Saudi Aramco, Saudi Arabia's energy company, in 2019. It was valued at $1.7 trillion. SpaceX designs and manufactures rockets and spacecraft. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.01. West Texas Intermediate is down over $1 to 112. Western Canadian Select is down over $3 to 80.14. And the TSX gained another 189 points today, now sitting just under 33,000. Those are your business headlines. I'm Mirella Fernandez.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV.
A gesture by a 3-year-old boy has gone viral. Here's Danny New.
A simple gesture from a toddler has sparked emotional responses from around the world.
And why did you start recording it?
It just melted my heart. Like, I wanted that moment forever.
Oklahoman Ashlyn Drew here was at a McDonald's last week with her 3-year-old son, Hudson, when he noticed an elderly man eating breakfast by himself.
And he asked where the older man's kids were. And I was like, I don't know. They might have moved away. And he didn't like that, so he went over there and asked if he could sit with them.
So Huddy, as he's nicknamed, took his little tray and slid into the booth to join the man and have breakfast together. Since then, Ashlyn's post on TikTok has picked up more than 1 million views, with one commenter writing, "Sometimes as adults we need to sit back and learn from kids."
He's just the sweetest little boy ever.
But here's what makes this story almost unbelievable. They actually have a connection. Commenters from their town helped Ashlyn learn that man's name is Dan Taylor, and they got to speak on the phone yesterday. It turns out Dan was close with Ashlyn's great-grandparents, a.k.a. Hudson's great-great-grandparents, who passed away in 2024.
I said, George and Dorothy Kurlick. He goes, she used to make my sauerkraut for me.
After they spoke, Ashlyn asked Dan if we could chat over the phone, too. He said he did not have the technology for a video call.
I sat down in the booth, and the little boy walked over and said, "May I join you?" and sat down with me.
I spoke with Dan for a little while and learned he is an 87-year-old great-grandparent himself who served in the Marines for 21 years. He said all of his grandkids and great-grandkids live in other states, though, and his wife has passed. So when Hudson came over to ask if he could join him...
Did it make your day at all, that moment?
Well, yeah, it did, because it was so unexpected. He was a jewel.
When I told Ashlyn that Dan referred to her son as a jewel, she said that now that she knows they live so close to each other, she just might have to bring Hudson over to say hi. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
What a nice story. Okay, so full moon tonight.
That's right, Mitsumi. It's called the pink full moon or the partial full moon, and it will be visible as of 10:12 p.m. tonight. We will be dealing with partly cloudy skies and a low of -2. Tomorrow we start the day off with increasing cloudy skies, and into the afternoon once again clouds, and we could see around 12 millimeters of rain starting around 7 p.m., but we will see a nice daytime high of 7 degrees.
And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Stay well. Good night.